everyone. I'm Elaine Quijano. It's good to be with you. Thanks for joining us. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton is raising questions about President Trump's fitness for office. The allegations are part of his new book, The Room Where It Happened. It's published by Simon & Schuster, a division of Viacom-CBS. In a recent interview with ABC News, Bolton alleged that President Trump was only concerned with his re-election prospects.
I don't think he's fit for office. I don't think he has the competence to carry out the job. There really isn't any guiding principle that I was able to discern other than what's good for Donald Trump's reelection.
Bolton is also defending his decision to remain silent during the impeachment trial. However, he has confirmed the Democrats' central charge against President Trump that aid to Ukraine was directly linked with the investigation of former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter. CBS News senior national security contributor Michael Morell joins me now. He is the former acting and deputy director of the CIA. Michael, nice to see you once again. What do John Bolton's allegations say about the process of making national security decisions inside this White House?
Elaine, it's great to be with you as always. I think there's two bins here for me. One is the chaos that Mr. Bolton refers to constantly around the decision-making process. The president not interested in facts, the president not interested in analysis, the president not interested in policy options and discussing the upsides and the downsides. Really going with his gut, frequently changing his mind, frequently making different directives to different people that are inconsistent. So that's kind of a chaotic process. And then the other bin is, what are those decisions based on? And the clip you just ran had Mr. Bolton's main theme, that the president does not base decisions on what's in the best interest of the country, what's in the national interest. He's basing it on what's in his electoral interests. But I have to say, Elaine, as I read the book over the weekend, it wasn't just his electoral interests. It was broadly in his interests. It was what fed his ego as well as what served his reelection chances. So that's how I saw what Mr. Bolton wrote about in terms of how it affected policy. And I should say, Elaine, that at one point in the book, Mr. Bolton says that a good day at the White House was not damaging national security. That's quite a statement.
What did you think when you read that?
I was like, wow. And, I think all of us had a sense going into this book that based on media reporting and then based on things my own friends had told me that it was chaotic, it was dysfunctional, the administration, but what really struck me after I read it was the level of dysfunction here we're talking about is historic. And I think that Mr. Bolton chose the wrong title for his book. It's not The Room Where It Happened. It is total chaos. That's the sense you get when you read this book.
Well, you say that you think Bolton is or was naive. Now, that's not something that I think a lot of folks would know, a characteristic that a lot of folks in Washington would necessarily use to describe John Bolton, who has been, as you know, in Washington for years and years. But tell us why you think that is the case.
As I read the book, Elaine, and Mr. Bolton was talking about very specific issues, it often jumped out at me that this was not the sophisticated thinker that I thought that John Bolton was. Let me give you a couple of examples. One, I do find it naive for him to believe that a series of presidential tweets and then rather limited sanctions, that he thought that was going to bring down the Maduro regime in Venezuela. Or his belief that the maximum pressure campaign on Iran was going to lead to regime change in Iran, that the Iranian people were going to rise up and overthrow their regime. Or his belief that there is some sort of military option with regard to denuclearizing North Korea. I found all of those to be inconsistent with what I know to be the facts and most of the analysis that I've seen on all of those issues.
Well, the Justice Department, as you know, tried to stop Bolton's book from being published, claiming that it contained classified information. Was there anything in the book you thought fit that bill? And could you even tell us if you thought there was?
So no, I can't tell you, right? Obviously, I don't want to give the adversaries an advantage, right? But there were a number of things that I saw when I read the book that seemed to me to not have been in the public domain before. So it was new to me. And it seemed to be as if it came from intelligence sources. And so I don't know whether that particular information I'm talking about is classified, but we do know that the director of NSA made a submission to the court saying that there was classified information in the book. So what I saw is not inconsistent with the statement from the director of the National Security Agency.
So do you agree with the government's argument that Bolton published his book before a thorough review process was completed?
So I think there's a little bit of a problem here for the government, and I'm a little bit used to this because I had to at CIA adjudicate contentious reviews of books. And the government's problem here is that it sounds as if Mr. Bolton was told at one point by a White House official that the review was over and he was done. And it was at that point that the current National Security Advisor, Mr. O'Brien, asked for a second review. So the government's problem is in answering the following question from a judge. So why was the document, why was the manuscript classified the second time you went through it and not the first time you went through it? That is a very difficult question for the government to answer. So the government is not in an easy position here to go after Mr. Bolton, I don't think.
So Bolton claims that Russian President Vladimir Putin plays President Trump, quote, like a fiddle. Bolton also says the president cares about how he is viewed by authoritarian leaders. Listening to some of the rhetoric when it comes to foreign policy, that's certainly not surprising. But could there be, Michael, lasting implications for U.S. national security long after this president leaves office? I mean, what is it you think that those authoritarian regimes are now doing, given what they see the response has been from this particular president?
It's really interesting, Elaine, when you read the book to see the difference between how the president thinks about authoritarian leaders, how he approaches them, and compare that to how he thinks about and approaches Democrats with a small d, our allies and partners, for example. It's absolutely clear that he cares deeply about what the autocrats think of him, that he wants the autocrats to like him and to see him as powerful. It's absolutely clear that he made policy decisions with that in mind. It's interesting that when the administration did take tough action against certain countries, he wanted that portrayed in a certain way that distanced him from that particular action, so that I guess it wouldn't affect how that leader viewed him. And so I think it sends a powerful message, right, around the world about what this president is looking for in a partner, and that sends the wrong message, right?
And is the United States somehow less safe or weaker, I guess, is the bottom line. A lot of people will wonder, as a result of the fact that, these authoritarian regimes have a very clear sense, according to Bolton, according to others, of the way in which this administration thinks.
So what's interesting to me, Elaine, is if you take the 5 main national security issues that the president faced when he came to office, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and ISIS. It's only on ISIS where we are better off today than when we were in January 2017. On those other 4 issues, there's either been no progress or we have slid backwards. So the national security decision-making that John Bolton has talked about and has written about now has resulted in an America, I think, that is less safe today than it was in January of 2017 when the president took office.
Michael Morell. Michael, very grateful to have your expertise and analysis. Thank you so much.
Good to be with you, Elaine.